Have you ever looked at an agency and thought, how did they get that project? Seriously? You know your work is so much better than theirs. So you also probably have a better process and you probably get better results for them. Yet somehow this agency that they've chosen gets chosen every time. Now that just doesn't really sit well, does it? And I've seen this happen so many times. And when it does, most agency owners tell themselves the same story. They must have been cheaper. They probably knew someone there. Maybe they grew up with someone or they had a friend there already. And these are just excuses, really. The client doesn't understand good design, is something that a lot of people say. But what if none of those things are really true? What if the real reason has nothing to do with talent? Because here's something I've learned after working with a lot of agencies over the years and designers. Clients don't choose the best agency, they choose the agency that feels like the safest decision. And those are two very different things. So in this video, I want to explain why better agencies often lose to worse agencies or people that just aren't really going to get the best result for that client. And more importantly, what you can do about it. Most agency owners believe that if they became good enough, clients will naturally flow, naturally come and find them, knock on the door. And if they improve their work, things just get easier and easier. They build a better portfolio, win awards, create amazing projects. The right clients will eventually appear. And while great work matters, it's not enough. You have to remember, clients don't experience your agency the same way you do. You see it from a totally different perspective, a totally different angle, and the expertise, you see the detail, you see the quality, you see all the hard work and effort, and the clients don't. Clients are trying to make a decision and they're trying to reduce risk, they're trying to avoid making mistakes, they're trying to avoid losing money. And that's why the agency that communicates the most clearly often beats the agency with the best work. Imagine you're looking for a doctor. A doctor, let's say one doctor says, I'm passionate about helping people improve their health through modern medical solutions. Okay, sounds nice. Let's think of another example. Now imagine a doctor saying, I specialise in helping men over 40 reduce high blood pressure without relying entirely on medication. Which one feels easier to trust? Which one feels more relevant, more specific? Which one feels safer? The second one, of course. Not necessarily because they're better, we don't know if they're better, but because they're clearer. And exactly the same thing happens when you're trying to sell your design work. Most agencies sound almost identical sometimes when I'm looking through all these profiles on LinkedIn, I'm looking on Instagram as well, and just go and have a look now. Go and look at 10 agency websites and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see things like, we help brands grow, we create meaningful experiences, we combine strategy and creativity, we help businesses stand out. The problem isn't that these statements are wrong, the problem is that they're so generic and everyone says them and that is a real problem. They're easily forgettable and they don't help a client really understand why that they should really choose you instead of somebody else. And you're making the decision process even harder for your audience. That's not a good thing. And when clients can't see a meaningful difference, they start comparing on price and things get even harder. But all they're trying to do is make a decision, and the easier you help them make a decision, the more likely they are to choose you. Most clients aren't looking for the best agency, they're looking for certainty. They want to know, do these people understand my situation? Have they solved problems like this before? Do they have a process? Can I trust them? Will this be easy or is this going to be a real hard slog? And the agencies that answer those questions the fastest or in a more obvious way are going to win. So that's why clarity beats complexity every time. Here's what often happens. A talented agency spends years improving their craft and their work gets better and better, but their positioning, their communication out there in the real world never improves. Their messaging never improves. Their communication in front of a client never improves. So while they're becoming more talented, they're not becoming easier to understand or communicate with. Meanwhile, other agencies come along, their work might not be as strong, but maybe they're working harder on the communication side and the positioning side and making sure they've got exactly the right offer for the right audience, and everything's incredibly clear and it's very much tailored to their situation. They know exactly how they can help because they understand what's really going on for their client. They know exactly what problems they solve, they know exactly how to communicate that value, and because of that, prospects immediately understand them. Guess who gets the call? Guess who gets the project? Guess who gets recommended? Usually the clearer agency, not necessarily the better agency, just the one that they can really resonate with, the one they really relate to, the one that they can understand how to get from here to here in the easiest way possible. The biggest shift agency owners need to make is to stop asking, how do I prove I'm better? Instead, you should be asking different questions like, how do I make it easier for clients to choose me? How do I make it more obvious that we're the right solution? And they're completely different questions. One focuses on competition and the other focuses on clarity and being as specific as possible and obvious as possible. You don't want to be compared, you want to be the preferred option, and that's where your growth will really start to happen. The agencies that grow fastest aren't always the most talented, they're the easiest to understand, they're memorable, they're specific, they're relevant, and when somebody hears what they do, they instantly think, yeah, exactly, that's exactly what we need, and that's what you're aiming for. So you just want an instant reaction like, yeah, oh my God, yeah, that's exactly what we were thinking about the other day or talking about the other day. And no more noise, no more fluff, no more features, services, just more clarity and being as specific as possible to those people's needs and desires. Because when prospects are really understanding what's going on and they're really understanding why you're different, sales become so easy because it should really sell itself. Referrals become easier, content becomes easier, everything just gets easier. So if you've ever lost a project to an agency, I had a guy the other day actually that told me that he'd worked out he'd lost about £100,000 in proposals and he wasn't happy about it, and I could tell him exactly why he'd lost those proposals, which actually he was quite pleased to hear. So if you've ever lost out to another company that you didn't think were as good as you, I totally get it and I understand how hard that can be and how frustrating that is, but don't immediately assume it was because they were better. There's a good chance that they were simply better at explaining things, communicating their value, and really understanding who they were talking to in a very crowded market. Clarity is always the thing that wins. If you'd like help becoming the obvious choice, instead of just lots of other options, I've put together a short training called The Obvious Choice Effect. And inside that, I break down in much more detail why this happens and how to start fixing it. Obviously, lots of agencies can position themselves in lots of different ways, but if you understand what works and what doesn't, you're going to be way beyond everybody else. And communicating your value much more clearly and communicating better on calls with clients as well, it all has a massive impact. You shouldn't be competing on price and you shouldn't have to be compared to a handful of other agencies. You should have your own lane in the market, which is very specific to that audience and solves very clear problems. You'll find the link below if you want to find out more about that course. Also subscribe and share, because I'll be sharing a lot more about how to grow your agency, how to attract a consistent flow of the right clients, how to position yourself the right way, how to attract much more premium clients in a much more effective way. I'll be sharing more videos like this on agency growth, positioning, offers, sales, premium clients, how to attract that consistent flow and how to really create your own lane in the market. And if you like this video, please like below.